It's Meta Monday. Welcome back to Good Game Nation. We bring you all things TCG. My name is Preston. I'm here with Sam.
Hello, it's Meta Monday. It's my favorite week. It's my favorite day. I'm gonna be honest. I love Meta Monday.
Doesn't matter what day Meta Monday falls on, it's your favorite day.
Yes, it's actually on a Monday though. No jinxing.
As long as we upload at the right time.
Oh God, I hope so. We are showing some really cool decks today too. The One Piece Twitter has been running this tournament for a while now. The preliminaries, right?
It was the Osaka Preliminary Championship tournament.
There it is. That's probably why I couldn't say that. They dropped the first and second place on their official Japanese Twitter account, and we were able to find the fourth place one as well. The third place one, we know what the leader was, but we don't know if we have an actual list. We
Yeah, we
have,
don't have the actual list. They posted on Twitter on Note, which has a paywall. So we're not going to show you guys that. That's their thing. We might put it in the description or in the comments if you want to pay to get the Kinemon list, which was the other top four list.
yep,
Uh, but the winners were just flashing on screen were Zoro in first, Zoro in second, and we also have a third place, Kaido featuring set two cards. So
yes.
let's jump into let's third place first.
We're jumping into third/fourth, which is a Kaido list. According to the little information that we had, Kaido was a underrepresented leader. This wasn't a leader that had a lot of play, probably because set two purple wasn't very good. But here we are with a Kaido list that took third/fourth with a ton of set two cards, which is so exciting.
Yeah, it's super exciting. From what I could see, like you said, not a lot of Kaido players. Let us know in the comments down below if you've seen other statistics or other Kaido lists that did at least top 32 or 16 so that we can look at them.
I love that.
But this list is super unique. We've undervalued set 2 purple a lot, especially because the leader and the whole archetype doesn't seem very
I
exciting.
stand by that.
And then this happens, which I love when it happens.
The
The
like so
high
soon.
Yeah, it's probably a little bit over 50% set too. Um,
Magellan.
with the Magellan character card, which I think we knew was good, especially after that disgusting match that we played a few weeks ago. Um,
I'm linking it right here.
ah,
Magellan is a good card. It's not a shock to see it here. Out of all the things we said about purple, we had glowing reviews. This is easily one of the better character cards released as well. Just standalone. You don't need to run anything special with it. It's just a good 5 drop. So it's not shocking to see it splashed in Kaido in general. However, seeing Hannibal here definitely brought my made my ears red. There's not a ton of impel down. It's Magellan, Sadie, and then Domino. Domino's a good blocker. It's a nice way to pull it out since the Animal Pirates don't have one. So I think it's nice seeing this Hannibal engine here. But Sadie does not have any Jailer Beast in this deck, so she is just a 2K combo.
yeah, which is an interesting approach to take. I mean, if you have the searcher, you don't want to miss, so you might as well throw in the good cards that you can hit.
Yeah.
Um, it's
Like,
interesting also to see Shiki
mm-hmm.
as the other 2K with a optional trigger that I think I wouldn't be using. But it's really interesting to see that splash when you could play ulti or any of the other 2Ks from set one, which have ramp or
Wait a Vista, that's a film searcher.
yeah.
There's a couple of 2Ks they could have gone. I think Shiki's an interesting option. That's probably the only thing I could really have for its defense. I would have to play it a little more to really get an honest opinion on it, but I think it's interesting because I don't think Purple has a lot of triggers that play. I think this might be one of the only ones next to. I think there's a Hawkins that's a ramp. Um, Other than that, I think these are the only two that I can think of quickly. So I think that's
Yeah.
interesting. And Hannibal can of course search Magellan, and then the Hell's Judgment card, which are probably the two most excellent purple cards coming out of set two. So it's nice to see them at high 4 counts here in this winning deck.
Yeah. And Domino is a 2 drop blocker, so they got another 2 drop blocker to go along with their other two from set one, the starter Black Maria and Kuruzumi.
Kurozumi.
Yeah. So they added some more blocking. The top end is similar to what we saw from set one with a split king setup, and then just the rush Kaido, no below the board nuke Kaido, um, which I think we were talking off cam while we were figuring out why this deck did so well. And you agree with no below the board, even though it would be nasty into a Magellan.
So I agree that the Magellan with Blow Kaido is a really interesting, unique combo. I do like your opponent having to decide if they want to kill Magellan or not. I think that is a really tough decision to make from an opponent standpoint, because you don't want to leave him, but you don't want to kill him. So what do you do with him? So I think he's interesting alone. I think it's also interesting that the king counts are incredibly high. I think we were playing around five, or I think five was the really strong. It's usually like three sixes, two sevens, but we
Right.
are at sevens here, so we might be prioritizing board presence more. Magellan's something that's gonna stick. We're probably playing a king, and then instead of playing the 10 drop Kaido, we're playing another king. So I think that's the logic behind that. I think I always like the idea of running just one. I think that option card is just too good. It's too unique not to play when you're playing the Kaido leader. But I could see the reasoning for not playing it. A lot more board presence on this purple list, I think.
Yeah, and it's aggressive, so it feels
Aggressive.
that way for sure.
Yeah, super excited. I love seeing this purple list. I love seeing Magellan making waves. Let's go. It's such a funny thing. Going into, we're skipping third place. Kitty Mod took third, which is super exciting. When we see that list, we will definitely feature it at some point. But we are jumping to first and second, which are both Zoro lists, and they are very similar in archetype.
Yeah, this is the new Zoro meta. Um, I saw a lot of other lists. There was a lot of Zoro in this tournament. A lot of people picked up on this one drop engine
Yep.
and ran with it. And it's really interesting. We were looking at it, and it seems like there's a few cards in, I guess, in the other deck, but in this deck that you can't search with the Curly Dodon. That's her name,
Yes.
right?
Dot on, yeah.
Dodon, yeah. There's a few cards you can't hit with this. Cards that you can't hit with it, you can most likely get with Nami, and then there's a few others. So it's a very interesting, very searchy deck. I think this deck has two searchers that are going to pick up
Yep.
your whole some way or another.
Yep.
Uh, and then you have the Zora leader, which, as we've been saying here, is one of the most versatile leaders. And I think when it comes down to this deck, it's the only leader that complements it, or it's the best leader that could complement this type of play.
Yeah, Zoro has a maximum efficiency at plus 6,000, and this is probably one of the easier lists to achieve a higher efficiency. This is a list that we had been seeing when we were doing our meta research. We didn't know if to feature or not because we've only seen a few. They have been slightly different, but these combo cards, the Dodon, the Makino, make a really nice aggressive early drop deck. It's our first weenies in this game, which is really interesting. They play 23 one drops. They are all mostly straw hats. Your deck seems to be focused on this really cool Sunny card, which when we saw it was just a brush off card. We didn't think anything of it. It was just a cool little thing, but it's definitely one of the more important cards in this deck. You can pull it out with Nami, Dodon, and you have so many things that pumps it. Really cool little archetype. You can make attackers out of basically anything. And then on the back half, we have a ton of destruction. Nico Robin and Vista are two red cards you're probably going to see in tandem when you see red decks. Very heavy destruction, which we saw last Meta Monday in the last Zora list. Very destruction heavy. And then Whitebeard replacing Shanks, I think, is becoming the more meta staple. Strong defensive play. It's giving you 2K to your leader. Your opponent's going to have to invest so much into attacking, which probably won't happen. And this new gate has the same effect as Nico Robin, so no small blockers are going to stay on the board, which is a problem against the Zora deck, I think. So it's a really cool concept deck.
Yeah, you're gonna have to invest a lot to get rid of Whitebeard. Um, I think I only watched one of the top 32 matches. I believe it was a Zoro mirror match because after that I was like I don't think I need to see anymore. If this was the finals and this was also the top 32 match that they covered, but in that match, one of the players got their Edward Newgate out, and the opponent had to respond by playing a bunch of the minuses with a
Jet
red
pistol?
hot or
Oh, red hot.
pistol.
Yeah.
One of the two, I can't remember, but they had to work to get it off the board. So they invested two or three cards into clearing it.
Yeah.
So they didn't attack over it because it was the first time they played it, the opponent played it. But to have to invest like two or three cards to get rid of one, and then they didn't get any attacks into leader because of the boost, is such a huge power play.
Hmm.
And I'm assuming that's what's going to happen across these Zoro decks. Like that was just the top 32. Is your opponent's going to play Whitebeard? You're going to have to get over it. You wasted a lot of cards in your hand, and then if it stays on the board, it's going to run you over. If it didn't, like if you actually were able to clear it, you're down two or three cards, and they're going to then have a hand advantage on you. So
Yeah.
it's really interesting, like top side control your opponent, bottom side just go hard and attack.
And I think if we compare Bandai games, this game punishes you harder if you don't have a defensive option after playing a large drop. You're ideally probably going to be punished the hardest. Playing a Mihawk, hypothetically, and you don't have a lot of combo in your hand, that's how you lose games. Edward Newgate has the option where he's also just mostly a defensive play. 2K leader boost is nothing to scoff at. You have to expend so much resources to get into that. And if they spend 3 to 4 cards removing it, that's a huge plus. And that's assuming you don't have another Edward Newgate in your hand. If you play another one, you're just screwed. And I think Edward Newgate's one of the first 9 drops where you can arguably say playing one, then playing another one the next turn is a very feasible couple turns because there's not a lot of things your opponent can do except invest heavily into removing it or into attacking. So very good 9 drop. Absolutely going to replace Shanks in the current meta. Play over Newgate. And if we look at the first place, this was just second place. If we look at the first place, they clean it up and they say, let's play 4 Edward Newgates. The differences aren't too much in these lists. A lot of 4 counts. There's 2 Udas. We cut Margra. Margra's a cool card. And it cuts one more card, the 2020 Chopper Blocker. And they just run 4 counts on everything. Those are the differences in the list.
Yeah, it's interesting to see the difference. The one player said, I need to at least have chopper blockers. This one said, I'm just going to attack you over and over again. And I'm going to make sure I'm consistently attacking you with what I want over and over again. So this is much more of a tight deck. Uh, it's interesting to see small variations and both of them doing very well. Because I'm assuming if we watch this match, it could have probably gone either way. Uh, this mirror match does not seem like a fun match to play against, and these two players probably played a lot of them.
I'd imagine so, and something tells me the mirror match came up to the top end. If your early game are very identical, you're both using Vista and Nico Robin to remove a lot of your smaller drops. So it probably came down to whose top game is stronger. And like I said, I think playing Newgate to Newgate to Newgate is an actual feasible offensive option and defensive option. And this deck has that opportunity. I also like Uda as a fetch card. Uda can pulls out 3 or less red card from your trash, which is the entire deck besides Edward Newgate. So I think this player had a slight better optimization in my head, um, and I think this list is something you're probably gonna run into a little bit. So we're definitely gonna have to start working up some counters.
Yeah, and a few notable cards with the Gordon that sends himself to the bottom of the deck to minus. Super powerful to be able to have a card on board that only costs one, bounce it back to your deck, which the amount of searching this deck can do, you might come back around to, and then into the Jet Pistol. So you play this card, a few turns later, you bounce into your deck, you Jet Pistol the scary baddie that's on board,
Yeah,
and then you're able to
that's a 9K.
keep going. Yeah.
You just hypothetically kill a 9K with that 2 combo. And I think
Yeah.
the different uses of Jet Pistol and cards we're comboing with Jet Pistol have been almost 3 different. We've covered a lot of red decks the last metas, and there have been different ways to capitalizing off Jet Pistol. It was people were playing Ace, people are playing Gordon, people are playing Brook, people are playing. It's a lot of different ways to activate Jet Pistol, and we're optimizing that as well, which is great for red. Great for red because I think we were coming down on red, and it might be time to just go a tad higher and putting red back in that high B tier range, especially with this huge win.
Yeah.
And it seems like Zoro was the highest played leader, which I don't think we expected going into that. So that's just high praise for this wonderful weenie deck. Um, and it's definitely going to see counters soon because weenie decks usually summon the coolest counters. So I'm excited to see what deck comes next after this successful tournament.
Yeah, absolutely. I think a very well optimized black deck should be able to just run over this deck. That's why I didn't expect
Yeah.
a low one drop deck to do well because as soon as black has cards at zero, which this deck has a lot of one drops, so it's easy to get them to zero, they should be able to run over this deck.
Yep.
But it just maybe the skill level hasn't come up to that point, or this deck just wins before the black decks could achieve what they wanted to, which is also really interesting. If you win first, then your opponent doesn't have a chance to play their game.
Yep.
Um,
Well, you say yourself, set two had just been out for what, a month ish, 2 weeks ish.
maybe, yeah,
So it's very possible those decks aren't fully optimized yet. And these are cards that we're familiar with already. A lot of these cards have been strong for red. Zoro has been a strong leader. So we just attach these, this dot on core into this
Mhm.
deck and just ship it off. So I think it's just probably black's not optimized yet. We've seen very few black lists as well. So I think black definitely has the strongest chance of appearing. I think Smoker definitely has a chance to probably have a good matchup into this deck. So maybe that's the deck that's gonna appear as the focal counter for the Weenie deck.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's
We'll see
exciting.
what happens. It's really exciting to see what happens after a deck tops,
Yes,
and the meta responds to that.
always does. Always does. Thank you guys for watching. If you made it this far, please do all the YouTube things. Leave a like, leave a comment in the comments. Let us know what you thought of the decks. Are you really excited for that Zoro deck like we are? Are you really excited for the deck that's gonna respond to this deck? That Kaido list was really exciting. I like the innovation. I like the idea of running a searcher. Purple has been missing that, so I think that might be something. I don't know if Sadie and the Jailer Girl are the right cards to play, but I think Hannibal might be a interesting piece going forward. Really
Absolutely.
exciting. Let us know in the comments. Thank you, and we'll see you guys next one.
Later.
Bye bye.